Well, is cancel culture a problem? Should we cancel things from the past because some people today don't agree with it? There seems to be an epidemic of cancel culture. Should some people or ideas be cancelled? How do we know? Who gets to decide? What if the church gets cancelled? These questions and more today.
Indeed, and Steve, you should be cancelled. In fact, I've even heard people say that I should be cancelled, which I cannot. I think people who think that I should be cancelled should be cancelled. Look, this is a huge problem in today's culture. You deal with untruths by telling truth. Cancelling people or ideas will inevitably result in injustice, anger, and abuse. We need to find a way to disagree, and we need to find a way to evaluate, to find truth, and to respect one another. And I would say we need to learn acceptance in Christ. Okay, I want to play you this from the drum. It's a wee bit longer than we would normally play, but it gives a very brief history of cancel culture, at least from an Aussie perspective.
In 2007, comedian Chris Lilly introduced Australia to Jonah from Tonga.
That's not disruptive, that's entertainment.
One of the characters in his popular mockumentary series Summer Heights High, which aired on the ABC. Characters since have included an African-American rapper,
S.Mouse is the revolutionary name,
and a South African woman with an afro and a tan.
Mama's gonna get pregnant.
Increasingly, the tide of public opinion has turned on Lilly's impersonations, especially those of people of colour.
Lilly is clearly not sorry, and I wonder, should he actually be?
What Chris Lilly got away with in 2012, he might not be able to get away with in 2017.
Earlier this year, Netflix pulled 4 of his programs from its platform, and ABC's on-demand platform iView did the same. Chris Lilly joined the list of the cancelled.
Is there anybody in here who hates me?
I just can't exist on this channel.
Cancelling is the internet's public shaming of people who write or say things deemed problematic. Often it's celebrities being called out after weighing into conversations about things like race and gender.
When you're racist on Twitter, like, people will come for you.
Misdeeds of the past being given a fresh airing.
There is a huge campaign on Twitter right now called Jimmy Fallon is Over Party.
Or being associated with someone deemed problematic.
I'm friends with George Bush. In fact, I'm friends with a lot of people who don't share the same beliefs that I have.
The fear of being cancelled has prompted some celebrities to preemptively apologise.
I did blackface as Nicki Minaj in 2011. People were offended and it hurt them, and for that, I am so unbelievably sorry.
But cancellation isn't limited to the rich and famous. In 2013, then 30-year-old communications director Justine Sacco found herself on the wrong end of what British journalist John Ronson calls the Twitter shame machine, when she posted this before boarding a flight to Cape Town in South Africa. Within hours, she'd lost her job and spent a year unemployed, illustrating the real-world consequences of cancel culture.
The great thing about social media was how it gave a voice to voiceless people, but we're now creating a surveillance society where the smartest way to survive is to go back to being voiceless.
Very interesting, Dave, from an Aussie perspective, and to a Scotsman there. One of the things I've been talking with people about recently is how do we live with our deep differences going forward in our society? But have you ever been offended? Or have you been offended and think that something should be cancelled?
Believe it or not, I'm actually quite hard to offend. I've had people who've insulted me directly, and I took it as a compliment. So I'm that stupid, emotionally and disconnected or something. But yeah, of course there are things that offend. So, for example, and we've mentioned this, you've written about this as well, you know, the Netflix thing, Cuties. Do we really want, child sexualization? You know, there are obviously some things that should be cancelled, but I think we need to be really, really careful about that.
So what's wrong with cancel culture there? Because is it saying that one person's freedom fighter is another person's terrorist? How do you decide?
Yeah. Well, cancel culture ends up being, if it's on what I feel, then it ends up the people who are the most powerful getting to cancel everybody who disagrees with them. And in a pluralistic, democratic society, that has to be wrong. But that unquestionably is the route that we are now headed, because once you've taken God out of the equation, you've replaced God with the state. And by the state, you largely mean the powerful elites.
Yeah. Now, look, Ellen DeGeneres is in her own cancel culture problems at the moment, but people smile at Ellen being criticised for being friendly with George Bush. Why do you think that's kind of humorous, or is it humorous, and what's going on there?
Oh, it's hilarious. I think, sorry, I just thought, well, it's hilarious in a sad kind of way, you know, in a schadenfreude kind of way. You know, Ellen was being portrayed in that clip as the angel. And how can you, who are on the side of the angels, be with someone who's on the side of the demons? And Ellen herself is about to be, or in enormous danger of being cancelled, because it turns out she's operated a bullying culture on her show. So, you know, for me, it smiled, because I just thought, you can't divide the world into these are the good guys and these are the bad guys.
No, that's true. Except on this show, of course, Dave, where I'm the good cop. Well, do you agree with the comment, though, that we've moved to a culture where people are being silenced primarily through social media, and then that trickles down?
Yeah, I thought in that clip, the bit at the end was utterly brilliant. And that is, social media is a voice to voiceless people, but now we've got a surveillance society. In order to survive, you now have to be silent. So I don't know if you've ever had this. I'm sure you've never written anything controversial.
Never.
But I have groups of people who at times have hounded me and have used algorithms to troll things that I wrote 10 years ago. Now, thankfully, I've never written anything wrong or offensive to anyone, so I'm okay. But if they ever did that to you, you'd be in big trouble. But, I mean, the point is then, you just keep silent. You don't say anything that would offend anyone. And as a result, we end up with the thing that we are not, apart from your jumper, and that is bland.
Oh, this is a great sweater. Thank you very much. But look, part of the issue is that in the cancel culture, the aim is not to censor others, but to get people to self-censor, surely.
Yeah, I think it is. And it's a form of intimidation, and it's a form of bullying. I mean, I've come across it in Christian circles as well, as I'm sure you have.
Yeah, no, I want to ask that question because one of the claims is that Christians have long been wanting to silence many things, and now that they may be silenced over things that society has got a different opinion on to Christians, they're getting their own back on themselves. Do Christians have a kind of cancel culture themselves, either internally or externally?
Okay, can I say something controversial and just in danger of us getting cancelled?
Yeah, in 10 years' time. Yeah.
But yeah, look, of course we can be accused of cancel culture because there are things that we don't like. You know, I would say pornography, for example, that we don't think should be freely and readily available. So we can be accused of it that way. I guess in former days, the Spanish Inquisition could be accused of cancel culture because trying to cancel Protestant heretics like ourselves. But I think there's a more subtle form of cancel culture. Now, I will say this, even whilst I've been in Australia, I basically had Christian organizations, leaders, whatever, say, you can't say that. You know, you can't critique that person. You can't do that. And I think there's a form of cancel culture which is a silencing by almost intimidation, and we need to be really, really wary of that. In my view, all the prophets would have been cancelled by the church as well. In fact,
primarily by the church, perhaps, because they spoke to the church.
Yeah, Jesus was cancelled. You know, I mean, he was crucified for blasphemy, and I just think we need to be really, really careful that we don't go down this route of trying to silence those with whom we have strong disagreements.
Yeah. So that's a big call, and it's a hard call, and it's something we've got to navigate. We've got grace to do that. Land this, Dave, with something from a Christian perspective for us. Where's it all heading, and have we any hope?
Okay. This may be a strange verse in terms of cancel culture. I think the gospel is not shut up, keep quiet, go away, stay out. I think the gospel is come. You're not cancelled. You're not going to be cancelled. You're welcome. And the verse I wanted to read was from Revelation 22:17. The Spirit and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. And let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. So we're not being told, stay away. We're not being told, be silent. We're told, come. I burst into a Nirvana song at this point, come as you are. But that really is the gospel's. Doesn't smell like Teen Spirit, but it is the Holy Spirit who's inviting us to come. And I think that's a great place for us to leave it.
Yeah, that is fantastic, Dave. It's a hard place to navigate. We're going to have to live with deep differences, and the gospel gives us an opportunity to do that with grace. Well, that's time for this week. Next week on the kitchen table, we're going to look what it looks like to go from the age of 10 to 40 very quickly. Macaulay Culkin, star of Home Alone, put out a tweet that said, I've just turned 40. Does that make you feel old? You're welcome. He's suddenly 40. He's not allowed to be left home alone at 10. He's okay at 40. In 30 years' time, as grandpa, he won't be allowed to be left home again. So we're going to look at how does life go that quickly? What's it about our lives that we need to take consideration of in the middle years? So until then, see you later.